Good morning. Happy Friday. So yesterday we got a little movement, and in part was part of what we've talked about in the past. And with crude oil, we were talking about, is this going to break out? And we talked about it where it started to break out, and it came right back in again. It was kind of flip flopping, and so it broke out and closed above there yesterday. And so now inflation concerns. What's the Fed going to do? Blah blah blah. And at the time, well, look, we all know gold broke out with a vengeance, and now oil moving up. Gold and this, the ideas, inflation, and hey, they're fighting inflation, all of that, and going on. And heard an interesting thing this morning, and I don't know if you listen to the news. In part, it was kind of hedging, you know, as to the Fed maybe saying, you know what, for now 3% is good enough so they can make the excuse to lower interest rates. And maybe that's been brewing under the surface. We don't know everything that's being said behind the, closed doors. And now someone starts talking about that. And it's like, maybe those in the know heard what was being talked about. I heard this kind of floated out months and months and months ago as to, hey, this they might do that, but maybe that's why gold broke out. And it was interesting, like over here, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about, hey, what's going on here with the 13 week? Rather than staying here or going lower, the Fed's going to raise interest rates. It popped back up. And then it came back down. And this little drawing here is from the weekend advisory letter. And I was like, all right, it went up, but now it came back down again. And is it going to form a head and shoulders top to drop? And now it's flipping back up again. So all of this kind of it starts leading to, I think, well, confusion and uncertainty, and why, while the market trend is still up, it's gotten quite jagged in how it trades. A little up, two back, up, another back, up, sideways, versus kind of momentum moves like here and here. And so now we saw some cracks in the wall yesterday. The S&P still looks okay. Little bottoming tail bar there. It's just going sideways. Nothing significant happened. But, you've got the 10-year now flipped right back up again. And, from back here when we talked about interest rates in the dollar, when this put pressure on the markets, you can see my cursor, or, we can see the middle chart there, the cursor, as interest rates were going up, market was going down, and then it rolled over and market went up. And here is the interest rates kind of went up a little bit. I was like, it's not so bad, not so bad, little jiggles. And now if this 10-year pops above these highs here and crude oil keeps going up, and now you see the dollar has flipped up from support and that starts going up, you better make sure you get your stop losses in or selling some covered calls, um, because we know historically those events line up with the markets pulling back. Now, the way the markets have gone up, they could pull back quite a bit and things still be quite okay. But, the market's pulling back, whatever it is, individual stocks can get clobbered pretty darn good. And we saw some of that already in the last week or two. Some semiconductor stocks taking pretty, percentage wise, pretty big hits. And here's the 30-year, and that sure looks like it's going to break out above these highs here. Breath yesterday, it backed off a little bit because things rallied, a little short covering at the end of the day or whatever buying. But during the trading intraday, during the day, this was down close to about minus 1,800 or so. So it came off. So it didn't close down here. So a little bit of a positive, but again, you've got some cracks in the walls here. For now, Our market internals are neutral. Breath came down, far from being at an extreme, and things will have to get worse before option traders start buying a whole lot of put options. So, and yesterday's comments in part, one of them was, remember when we looked at SPX, I said, how could these people, why option traders, be buying a 5210 call strike the way things were yesterday morning? I mean, that is irrational exuberance. So, anyway, yesterday there was some cracks. We'll take a look at where things are now. Let me just check these quotes before they go away, which I didn't get to before. I think they're starting to. Let's see here. Let's fill in. Let's call it 5,200, which is still good. Something's wrong on my. Let me see here. Hold on. Yeah. Eight, 90. Wow. I don't know what's going on over here at TC 2000. That doesn't look right. This is fine. Anyway, okay, not that one. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Let's just look where SPY is. Near the bottom of that bottoming tail bar at the moment. Oh, going to gap down a little bit. Another gap inside the prior bar's range. 5,200 should be a no-brainer. You know, the downside has a greater probability. Just be aware there's numbers coming out at 10 o'clock today. Michigan consumer sentiment, 5-year inflation expectations, and a few other things at 10 o'clock. So keep that in mind. Overall, until this breaks below this major supporter, gets down here, clearly the trend is up. Right now, it's just more of chop, slop, going back and forth, back and forth. Did the transports move? They moved lower. They're breaking, they broke down. So that was a negative. Overall, it's just, as we've been talking about, a small trading range within a bigger trading range. So things are just a mess here. We looked at the 10-year. You can see how it went up. It's up at the top of the range now. After breaking down to support, it ripped right back up again. Wide range bar on the weekly chart. That suggests it's going to go up. It can't be good for the broader markets. It can't be good for tech stocks, semiconductors. Pulling back is still a beautiful chart. As this comes down here, um, we're going to see. There should be buyers down here as it comes down here, maybe into this unfilled gap. Whatever happens, if the markets sell off, a pattern like this, pulling back into an area like that, it's going to bounce. Here, I drew this out yesterday. This head and shoulders, it started to break yesterday, but some things led the way down. This is semiconductor. You can see this is down at major support here. So while it is doing nothing right now, it's in an area where it starts to stabilize, and we could have a long trade or put credit spread on this next week. And it's down a whole bunch. It led the way down. There was that nasty gap down. Geo, this one is gapping down here this morning. I think is this one. What was the other one then? Adobe. That's not a semiconductor. It's software, right? $500. That's nasty. Anyway, retailing, that got hit. So if this breaks under here, it could be a measured move down into the support area. Keep that in mind. Energy. I pointed out, this is improving, suggesting institutions think oil is going to go higher. So when you see oil acting the way it did, and that 13-week the way it did, something was amiss. That these beliefs were changing about inflation. It was subtle, but yesterday wasn't so subtle. Dow, it's just whipping back and forth. Something's going to give here. I don't know that it's going to happen today, but by next week, IWM, it was that head and shoulders. It broke down. It's coming down to the next support. And this has been a big theme this year. You're listening to talking heads about, and that's part of the advantage of listening to these talking heads on CNBC when you hear themes where the majority of them start talking about the breadth expanding into small caps and so on, because they all start thinking the same thing and they move like a herd. And so trends can start and go on for a while when that happens. But in the moment, you can have jiggles along the way. So typically they're not going to move away from their opinions, but yesterday wasn't a good day for small caps. But we know this broke out of this range earlier, pulled back. They came in again. It's at the next resistance area. So taking news out of the equation, this price action right now, being at this resistance area technically makes sense to us. We'd hope it would have kept going lower, higher, I should say, but maybe at this point coming down here, it's going to flip back up again, and that's what we'll keep an eye on. And we put this smaller time frame trend and jiggles within the context of this higher time frame. That's multiple time frame analysis. All right. Futures here. And Qs, I drew my little triangle yesterday. We talked about which way is it going to break. And it wasn't a decisive break yesterday, but today may be the day. And so now we can get rid of those lines and put things into perspective as they should be. And what they should be is about horizontal analysis. And if it's going to break, it has to break these pivots to do something meaningful. Breaking diagonal lines are often very misleading because it's these pivots that have to be broken. to violate price support, not lines that you project by connecting dots. So a breakdown below these two pivots, it's going to be significant. Support, support, consolidation. Odds are it'll go down to the 50. All right. Yeah, crude oil down a little bit this morning, but you can see the breakout popped up. Gold is consolidating, still pretty bullish. Looks like it's going to go higher to me. And silver, that's moving up. That's going up to the top of the range. So, how to get on board something like this, smaller time frame, intraday time frame. It doesn't, when moves start like they do here, a lot of times you don't get pullbacks, or extended consolidations. It makes it more difficult. Bitcoin began to pull back a little yesterday, well, 5,000 points. It looks like little, but, now we're getting a topping tail on the weekly there. So I would think it's due for a rest and some kind of consolidation. So, all yours, Dan. Happy weekend, everybody. Have a problem, Dan?
And so, Greg, I don't know if you mentioned, because I have a couple internet blurps there. It's quad witching today, so there's a lot of spiders volumes going to be expiring, which means the market maker has to start rehedging. So that typically can create some whips, particularly in the last half hour in my experience. So keep that in mind. Slowly grinding lower here after the whatever little 830 number. So I don't have any alarms going off. Let's go right to earnings. Oh, look at this mister yesterday. I was mentioning this would have been a fantastic 1 DTE call spread. I think somebody in our green room, Doc, said he's shorted the $2,000 calls for $6. They expire today. I'd be willing to say that those $6 premiums are now probably 30 cents. I mean, who thinks this thing's going to run $400 in one day? Oh, hey, Robert. All right, earnings here. Blink. I said if it opened flat, I would buy the high. I like the daily, weekly bottoming action. It's gapping down. I have an alarm. Nothing to do now. SMR gapping down. It's a mess. I mean, look how messy it got yesterday in the sell-off. So that, oh, wow, this tail here doesn't even look real. It's so big, but on the 15-minute chart, it sure as heck is. Rig T. This is one of those cloud, those mega gig computing stocks that we've been starting to play with. There's just no good pattern right now. FF, amazing run yesterday. I don't know what the heck happened there, but interesting. It's opening flat. All right, Adobe getting whacked. I didn't do any earnings trade myself last night. Sure glad I didn't do anything on Adobe. So 502. I mean, look, you got to come down to the weekly chart. But look, 502. It's the bottom of that major support. So I have this. Just got to watch it, but my vanilla approach, 30-minute high, sell a 0 DTE put spread. But I'll be watching it here. I got him in the bottom right. No pattern. Smart getting whacked, 36 bucks. I said yesterday, if this opened flat, short below. But now the gap's pretty excessive. WPM, no pattern. Kodak Black, no pattern. Papa Delta, big old gap down to $20. That's the big gap. We'll come back to it. Open $1.87. All right, so it's gapping just above this 200 MA major support. So, could be a day trade. Ulta, is that all-time highs? Yeah, that was a closing all-time high yesterday. Wow. Into earnings. And so that's a big ugly gap, kind of in the middle of no man's land here, because the 50 is, well, it's minor support, I guess. Well, I don't know. Do I have Ulta here? It's also possible 30-minute high, 0 DTE put. This one's gapping further to major support, 30-minute high. It might be a day trade. Oh yeah, $7. Yeah, look at that doc. So yeah, I talked about that. That was amazing trade. PHR. I mean, it's just such, you heard what we talked about pre-market yesterday. We just said this is a picture of greed accelerating. And then what was key for me is it gapped up and then gave it all away pre-market. I'm like, aha, there's my shock reversal. All right, PHR, 24 bucks, no pattern. Life. Gapping right here, but if it holds the gap, it's the turn. Could go up to 185, 190 if you like dollar stocks. Zoom Z. This could be a potential gap and snap. I'm going to put this in a window on my other computer. See what happens with the open. DESP, I don't see much volume, but it's, gapping up. It's bullish daily, weekly, monthly. Agro, no pattern. My Nike alarm just went off. So this is a sell setup. This looks great. So let's short. Step 102.62. $262. Yeah. All right, so Nike, let's short yesterday's low. So that's good to go. Alt. This was earnings, light volume. But I said it's bullish daily, weekly, monthly. These are, I mean, you can see the bull rectangle here more on the weekly. Here's your flagpole. Here's my rectangle. So that's a bullish pattern on Pult. Talking about Pult, P-A-L-L, I actually did have an alarm go off. This was a nice little bull's flag after gap breakout. Jable, that's a big gap down. I'll put that in a window. Actually, I tried doing a condor on this yesterday and I did not get filled. Glad I didn't. ERJ, that is a textbook bull flag right there. Look, flagpole, 30-degree counter trend channel retracement. That is very bullish price action. But they were doing this even into earnings, but there's no setup. Well, so nothing for me to do now. RLX bullish gap. That this could go to 240. So RLX is worth watching on pullback. This gapping over a red bar. That's bullish. I'll put that in a window. GCP. Hib. Sporting good, big old gap down. Maybe that's what's dragging Nike lower. I don't know. I'll put that in a window. I mean, there's no pattern. It's just I want to see what it does. Here, no pattern. Group on. This thing must have had an inverse split because I remember this thing hovering around $4 for the longest time. Dodge, you're in the house. Call spread candidate. Let's watch Groupon for the 19 call spread. Tilius, no pattern. Ship. It's a 1, 2, 3, but it's far from the 20. But we'll come back to it. Cabot, no pattern. All right, those are all the earnings. Aluminum is bearish, daily, weekly, monthly. Ideally, I get 2 inside bars because it's far from the 20. Iridium closing breakdown and opening flat. This is a beautiful day trade setup. Short 5-minute low. I'd say stop, just this 20 MA is aligned with this pivot. That's, it's down a lot on the 15, but it went sideways and couldn't bounce and opening flat and market weak. So it's a great day trade. Coin, I thought I saw it down like 18 or something this morning. But here's another one I'm watching, like with Mr. just short-term exhaustion of Dodge. This is also a call spread candidate because it's in vogue. I'll bet there's juice at 275. MQ. MQs have room to support 5-minute climactic. Oh, NQs. Yeah. I was gonna say, what are you talking about? Reinhardt Air here. Patrick said bullish gap, which it is, but I don't see any pattern. Charter working on an inverse head and shoulder. It's working on the right side of the shoulder here. So I have an alarm. Netflix, I said, was flying pre-market for some reason. 15-minute chart. Look at the gap and go pre-market. Now it's coming in, but could be a possible 0 DTE put spread. TRMD, we already have a put spread, but I posted this as a long also over yesterday's high. That's a beautiful multi-week consolidation with a beautiful continuation bar and a price void. So that looks fantastic and relative strength to the market right now. Let's give it 5-minute high just because of the market. The 5-minute high TRMD. Yeah, my alarm went off. Oh, Marriott, shoot. Yeah, we did a put spread. So let's move stop 30-minute low for now. Doesn't mean we have to sit with it. IoT, I said we're going to roll with the short puts. Charter, alarm went off. Charter looks fantastic. I'm not doing anything right now, but it got promoted to a tier 1 watch right now. SMH, Galing. Yeah, Galing looks good. I'm not doing anything, but let's see if it can hold here a little bit. Hold here at the open. All right, Adobe bottom right I'm watching, and Ulta middle chart. So see, we've only been trading 2 minutes, but buyers stepped up down there at that $500 major support on the weekly. Let me see. That's my. I gotta reboot. Um, I gotta reboot TOS because my internet blurping earlier. Let me look at my other computer. Adobe. Let's see the four. Wow, Greg, Adobe. Well, let's see here. They're a little spready, but
KRE and the biotech.
485.
Yeah.
Greg, check this out. And I'm not doing it, but I'm just, researching numbers right now. 485, 470 midpoint is 140. But, problem is, where's your stop? Unless you just arbitrarily do double, but it's only 933, but I'm watching it. Jable.
You watching
Yeah,
for
that
what?
looks
A put spread,
bad.
Dan?
That's because it's in the middle of no man's land. All right, Ulta bounce. Ulta is a bigger bounce than Adobe. No, I can't. Okay, yeah, yeah, try now, Greg. Yeah, I have the mic
I
off.
say, what are you watching Adobe for? A put spread?
Yeah, 0 DTE. I just typed it.
What's the strike?
I
I
typed
mean,
it. 485, 470. And you know,
85. Maybe you'll get a little second dip for it, but that's, I mean, a
yeah,
gap like that, 0 DTE, it's pretty good.
I am. Look at weekly support at
Yeah.
500. All right. This one, there's not enough juice. 500, 50 by 90. Um, I'm just getting them ready.
You know, just a point of interest, kind of a in 2020 hindsight as to, these markets are starting, whatever, we'll see how far they correct or what happens. But remember about a week ago, we had net NET on our list. It was a beautiful pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And it moved above the resistance and immediately failed.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of stuff, you don't know for sure, but it's the kind of thing that's not supposed to happen. Why isn't it supposed to happen? Because when we look at these patterns, and historically, you see patterns that work over and over and over again, almost like a sure thing, and they don't work, something stinks, and it's just thrown out there. Keep, something in mind. You look at a pattern like that, and as you start doing things like doing this for a while, you recognize certain patterns just have such a high probability of working. Yeah.
Yeah, your churd looks good here. I'm just, a little reluctant on the market. IWM the strongest. Nice 15-minute downside shake up there. Pre-market. That's a bullish 15-minute chart right now.
Now look at. I know you can go look at it later, but remember we looked at like 3 weeks ago CART. We had discussion about what it went up, and I said, hey, there's a guy I saw on the news that was talking about how people are starting to not spend as much money in restaurants, but they're staying at home and to save money. And here is a company that, for working people, they go on the internet, Instacart, they buy stuff and it's delivered to them. And it was a new issue a few months ago, and here this thing starts. It's in a bull trend now, and don't care about the market, but there'll be buyers on pullback for that. Meta's going down.
Here, hog, sell half. Up alarm went off. We're up over $2 now. Group on 1921, 30 cents. That's not bad. Not bad. Meets the 10% rule. It's weak. You have a topping tail. It's far enough away. That ain't bad. Yeah, Meta looks bad. That's kind of a little bit.